doing the same thing. I'm buying a bunch of houses, driving up the prices, pulling out money. I find out Dateline's coming. I have a problem.
Yeah, you have a problem.
So I'm going to go to Australia.
Okay. At his studio and share a story. Matt, thanks for being here since it's your studio. Thanks, man. My biggest stress in Florida is the hair, and Matt likes to tease me about that. It's like crazy because of the humidity. And but that's really not too important. So your story is fascinating. And I think for me, what I love about your story, I hadn't really heard your story when I came on your podcast. I didn't really know much about you. And I loved our conversation. Thought I was more fascinated. And then you sent me, I think the Danny Jones interview.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you should totally go watch that. And then I watched you on Soft White Underbelly too. And then my kids were all like fanning out going, oh my gosh, that guy is so cool. And my boss knows Matt. And yeah, your content, his content is true crime, right?
Right.
Matthew Cox on Facebook and everywhere, on YouTube mainly. But what I thought was interesting is some of the things as I watched it, you came back from some pretty tough stuff. Like you struggled with dyslexia when you were a kid. Is that right?
I still do.
Do you really?
It didn't go away. It's not curable.
But you really have figured out how to write books and you're super smart. So that's one of the things I need to understand. Like, what was your life like when you were a kid? Did you really struggle to the point where you couldn't hardly even do school, or what was that like?
Well, I think it's not that I don't think I struggled anywhere. I don't think I struggled more then than I do now. I just now have decided that I'm not embarrassed about it anymore. I just don't care. Like I've gotten to the point where, and you get older.
Yeah, you just don't care. You go to prison, you just don't care.
You just don't care what anybody thinks anymore.
Right?
Like I say stuff that people are like, oh, I can't believe you said that. I'm like, well, what do you think that person's going to think? Like, I
just don't care.
Could care less what that person thinks about me. That person's opinion of me means nothing.
But that's the other thing I want to talk to you about too. Because you got to this place where you're just like, I really don't care. And there's a lot of people that go through the system that end up going to prison or struggle with the whole criminal world, and then they are embarrassed about it. So I want to understand what that shift was for you. So you struggled then, you still do with dyslexia.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say, when we do ad reads for my channel, right? So we'll do, Colby breaks up the ad reads so what I can just look at it and read it. And even that's
it's crazy.
Horrible. And then the other stuff that I have to memorize, right? So and he makes sure that it's only like a line that I have to memorize. And then I'll look at him and I'll say, do you sleep hot at night? Ghost beds. And then I'll go into whatever it is. And then I stop and then I know, okay. He's like, okay, you can read this part. And then I read it. Yeah. And then sometimes I'll read it and he'll say it again and I'll realize, oh, I said something. That's not the word.
Wow.
That's not, like I'm looking at the word and I'm reading one word. He's like, this is what it is. I'm like, now it makes sense. And then I'll read it again. So he just helps me through it. But when he's done with the editing, brilliant. I'm brilliant.
Everyone needs a Colby.
It's phenomenal. I read and I look at him, I'm like,
how did he do that? He's a magician.
So good. Born for this.
But you're a writer. You've written tons of books, and you're dyslexic. Like, how have you figured that out?
Well, I mean, I wrote the bulk of those books. I was incarcerated, and I was at a low. By the time I was actually writing the books, I was at the low, and there's a lot of smart people at the low. So I would go to these guys that this guy is a school teacher. Somebody's got a master's degree. There were like 3 guys there from NASA.
Right.
And you just go to them and you say, hey.
You'd have them ghostwrite or you'd write it out?
No, I write it. And then I go to them and say,
I have editors. Yeah, you have to do that.
Hey, can you, right, but I didn't have an editor in prison. I had these 2 guys
Jimmy
from NASA.
and Johnny, right?
Yeah, and I had this guy. And so I'd ask them, can you read this for me? And they go, yeah, sure. They'd read it and they'd come back and they'd say, yeah, this is right. Or yeah, whatever. They'd go through and edit it. Some of them were phenomenal at editing the books. And I'd have 2 or 3 people do it. They weren't changing anything as much as they were maybe saying, this is a little bit of a run-on. You misspelled this word. You misspelled this word. Minor things, right? My sentence structure is fine.
Right.
And then we'd go through and I'd correct it and then I'd print it out or I'd send it to people. I'm typing this out on the CoreLink system.
Yeah, I know.
In drafts. So chapter 1 is and I would fill it up. So chapter 1 would be like chapter 1A, chapter 1B, chapter 1C, and then way the person.
This is like a very simplistic type of computer
system.
This is
like writing an entire book on your through text. Yeah. So and then I was able to store it and then make those alterations, and then I print it out again, let more people read it.
Right.
Once I felt like I got a lot of them, and then I would shoot them all those emails off to someone on the street who would then copy and paste the entire thing, print it out, send it to me, read it again. It was a long process, but I have the time.
You had the time.
I had the time to do it, and it's fine. I mean, I walked out of prison with multiple books that were pre-written, and then I just had to figure out how to put them into Word.
Right.
Had to figure out how to do that. There was lots of things I'd never used an iPhone. It was 13 years when I went into prison. YouTube had been out for a year, and I think I don't ever recall being on YouTube. My understanding is the first few years it was just people's home videos.
Right.
And then the other thing was I had the Razor, the Razor.
Right.
It was the flip phone.
Yeah, the flip one.
Texting had been out for about a year, where people were texting each other. And then Facebook had been out for about a year. And I'd never been on Facebook. I was on the run at the time. So, I went to prison. I mean, I come out and there's iPhones and there's Wi-Fi and there's all these things that just absolutely did not exist.
Right.
YouTube, you can learn anything you want on YouTube.
Right.
Took me about 6 months to realize, like, you're going to have to stop calling people or asking people to help you with your cell phone. It's annoying to them. And as being older, getting out when I was 49, walked out of the halfway house, I'm 50. So being 50 years old and having almost no experience with technology and knowing that YouTube, I can learn everything on YouTube, but it's the anxiety that I have trying to face this. I fought it for 6 months till one day I kind of sat down and thought,
yep, I did that with AI.
Suck it up. You're going to have to figure it out,
Right.
sit down, suck it up, watch 15 videos, stop them, rewind them, stop them, rewind. And that's what I did. And then very quickly I learned to teach. I taught myself, Final Cut Pro,
Wow.
Photoshop, all the things that I was asking other people to try and help me with, and paying people on Fiverr. I've never paid $5 on Fiverr, by the way. It always comes with, that will be a $25, $25. It's just Fiverr, bro. So, and even then it's never what you want.
Right.
And,
So
anyway,
you just have to figure it out.
you just figure it out, and the quicker you figure out and get through that anxiety, it's better.
So you're a kid. Did you do well in school?
No, it was horrible in school. Eventually, I went to did bad, really bad until about fourth grade, and then eventually failed. I think I failed the first grade or second grade. I forget which one. I think I used to say I failed the first grade. I think my mom one time told me it was the second grade. I was like, God. So anyway, by fourth grade, they realized I had a major learning disability, and so they sent me I went to 2 different schools for kids with learning disabilities. Graduated high school, never did very well. These were basically schools where it was almost like they paid a tuition to just kind of
Get them through.
make them
Graduate.
Yeah, try and help them out. Help them out. They're not really expecting anything from me. Graduated there, went to work for about a year, about 2 years. Didn't do very well in the workforce, and then I started college. I went to college and did very well in college.
What was the difference?
I have no idea. I'm not really sure, but I mean, I was getting straight A's I went to HCC for 2 years, got my AA. Which was Hillsborough Community College. Hillsborough Community College. And if you graduate with your AA, if you graduate, get your associate's degree in any, junior college, the state colleges have to take you.
Right.
So I went to USF, and I got almost all straight A's at USF. I think I got maybe one B while I was at USF. I had like a 3.95 GPA, like it was almost really good, did really well. But then again, the last 2 years it was in the College of Fine Arts. So it was, there wasn't actually basket weaving classes, but there were my classes are there were humanities classes and things like that, and art history classes. But the bulk of it was, you're taking, graphic design or graphic design 1 and 2. You're taking, painting.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, and 4. That's the whole year painting. So these are all like art courses. And so it's like you show up and you talk and you turn in assignments and you get to talk about the assignment and the teacher likes you, and so you're getting an A. And so I ended up graduating USF, got a BA in fine arts.
Were you bad when it came to math? Is math a good?
No, math was always pretty easy.
Okay, so reading was your struggle.
Yeah, reading was definitely a struggle.
So you graduate, and then what?
Which, of course, reading being your struggle it's everything.
It's
right?
a big deal.
It's reading a paragraph and then having to, what the comprehension,
right.
And then explain what you just read. And it's like, okay, well, I read it 3 times. I can barely tell you what I just read.
So I got a nephew. His name's Cruz. Shout out to Cruz. He's like one of the smartest people I've ever known, and he can't read. He has dyslexia. He's 17, and And so when my sister watched your story too, she was just like, oh my gosh, like so much hope for me to see somebody that's navigated life and figured out how to make it a strength. Like he's writing books and he's dyslexic. So
Yeah,
it's a big deal.
It's I think once you get over it, once you just like stop,
Accept it and quit fighting it?
Yes. Well, listen, when I would go on dates, well, first of all, I don't know why they do this with menus. Like they want to write it in real pretty letters. Like, bro, I can barely read regular font. And you guys want to throw some cursive and some special little, artistic. I don't know what I'm reading.
Right.
But you know what they almost always have? Chicken marsala.
So you memorize chicken marsala?
I would get there and I'd sit there. I wouldn't even open it. They go, do you know what you're, I go, yeah, you have chicken marsala? Yeah.
You take him to an Italian restaurant on purpose?
No, you don't. It didn't even have to be. Really, they have
Everyone
it almost
has
everywhere.
Chicken marsala.
They almost have it
Cruise,
everywhere.
Listen, this is a really smart move. Chicken marsala.
Chicken
man.
marsala. They'd be like, and if they don't, they have something similar. Well, we have this. It's similar. Oh,
So
that's what I meant.
the embarrassment of not being able to read a thing?
It's the anxiety. Because think about it, if I'm reading a menu and you're reading a menu, you don't know that I'm struggling.
Right.
Right. But the anxiety that I feel and not wanting to say, hey, what is this? Your girlfriend usually figures it out, right? Like,
Right.
Or your wife, you get I had a birthday card one time. It was my birthday. And my wife at the time threw like a birthday party, right? So all of her family, everybody comes over, which is like funny. It's all Puerto Ricans speaking Spanish. Like, this isn't my crowd. You guys aren't my friends,
Right.
And so, but they all come over and I'm opening presents, and my father-in-law had given me a card and said, hey, read it. And I went, and he goes, yeah, read it. There's 12 people standing around. And I was like, I opened it up and I started reading it. And he halfway through, he goes, around, read it. But I'm sounding it out. I mean, I'm like, today is your birthday. This is a special day. And that's how I read. I read like a 4-year-old. And you could ask Colby. I'll read something 2 or 3 times and then I memorize it and then I can say it. And the worst part is that when you talk to me, people are
You're
like,
so articulate.
They're like, that's not, you're joking. That's
Right.
not. Or my other one is when they tell you, when you tell someone, no, well, I'm dyslexic. They're like, nah, bro, you're smart. I didn't say I was stupid.
Right.
I said I was They
compare the two.
Yeah, that's what they think it is. It's like, no. Einstein was dyslexic.
Right.
Like being dyslexic almost guarantees that you're probably a genius.
You have to be smart because you got to survive. I mean, you got to learn these things.
But yeah, it's a struggle. It's a struggle. You just have to push through it, get through it, and it sucks. And it's kind of like prison. You know what?
You got to push through.
It's kind of like prison because let's face it, prison is. I heard you guys talking. You interviewed
Me and Sean,
Sean, and you guys were like, yeah, I like that all the guys that went, no matter what.
We're all wearing the same clothes.
You're
We're
all wearing
all
the same
equal.
clothes.
Right.
And I used to always say, in prison, I was always like, it's the great equalizer.
Right.
Didn't matter. You could only spend $300 a month.
Right.
You could only
We're all on the same ground.
You could be a billionaire and be struggling and putting money on people's. But you can work the system as much as you want.
But the system's the system, man. It's going nowhere.
You're gonna be there standing up for count, though, aren't you? You're wearing those green clothes. You're mopping your floor, or someone's doing it for you.
Yeah.
As good as it can get.
Is somebody mopping your floor?
Shitty. You're just the top. You're on the top of the shit pile. That's it. Like you're still
So
in. But yeah, the thing about prison is the nice thing about prison and dyslexia is that people it is a great equalizer out here too, because people either accept that you were in prison, or they don't. If they don't, f them.
Yeah.
I don't want you in my life anyway.
Right.
And if they do,
Yeah.
great. We're going to be cool.
Right.
So if you're like, oh, you're dyslexic, you have a problem reading, you have this, you have that, and they give you a hard time in any way at all, it'd be like,
Right.
okay, well, I don't need you in my life.
Right.
I'm better off. I'm better off without you.
Right.
Thank God I found this out.
Right.
Everybody should have one of these. They should have something.
Everyone should have this disability that helps me figure out who I want in my life.
It really
true,
does
though.
help, though.
So, prison for me was freedom in a way, because it was like, now I don't care what anybody thinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. If I do, and if you're going to live your life in fear of that, but before I went to prison, I was trying to pretend everything was okay.
Of course.
So
I'm a legitimate person before. Everything. Listen, if you walked into my office, you thought you walked into a credit union.
Right.
This place was impeccable. Everything was nice. I had all the licensing. I had if you even suggested something was wrong, you'd be like, whoa, wait, what's going on? Oh, absolutely not.
Right.
Absolutely not. I had the veneer of legitimacy.
Right. But there's something so real about just accepting, nope, this all happened. So when do you think you became, you were on Inside Edition, right? No? What were you on?
No, I was
60
on-
Minutes. Sorry. 60 Minutes, reach out to Matt. Which one?
No, I was on Dateline and American Greed.
Dateline and American. Sorry. Yeah, we got that wrong. So that's kind of a big deal. Like, I mean, in a way, you're like, okay, so now I really can't hide from this. But when do you think you started struggling with the whole, I'm not going to call you a con man. I don't know that you were. I mean, you accept that, right?
Me?
I think you put it
I
on.
used to introduce it. Yeah, my name's Matthew Cox, and I'm a con man. Listen, talk about writing.
But are you a con man?
Well, here's the thing: the U.S. attorney, right, or U.S. attorneys, they tend to where if you're a white collar criminal, you understand there's this huge difference between a Ponzi schemer, a fraudster,
Right.
a scammer, a con man,
Right.
But the U.S. attorney. But they know it's catchy, so they call everybody falls into he's a con man.
Right.
Well,
Let's get more specific.
Yeah, it's like, am I a con man? Let me tell you who a con man is. We have a guy that comes on the program. His name is Tom Simon. Tom Simon is a retired. No, he's not a con man. I'm saying he told a story. Tom Simon told a story.
Okay.
And Tom Simon is a retired FBI agent. Told a story the other day. Because there really aren't con men anymore, right?
Oh, yeah.
But
It's a lost art.
it is a lost art. It's sad. So, because real con men are like just amazing. So this guy, and so Tom Simon tells the story about a woman is working in the I don't know what you call it, the cage or whatever at a casino, right, where they cash checks and they cash chips. She gets, and this is at a casino that's owned by an Indian reservation or Indian tribe. She gets a phone call one day. Guy says, "Listen, I'm, Chief Whitefeather,
Right?
And we have an issue with the tribe right now, tribal business. I need you to pack up $700,000. Now he doesn't say just this; he has a whole thing.
Right?
$700,000. Pack it up. I need you to drive it here. I'm going to meet you here. This is a big deal. Do it immediately." He's so convincing. She packs up the $700,000. She drives it to him, and she's not involved, by the way. Like the FBI looked into her, she was absolutely not involved.
Okay.
Drops it off to the guy. He gets out of his car. He picks him up. "Thank you very much. I'll be in touch." She drives back to the place, goes in, sees her manager. She's like, "Oh my gosh, you can't believe what just happened. Chief Whitefeather, just this and this." And he's like, "Who?" Like just convinced her. Convinced her.
Wow.
Do you know where the phrase "con man" came from?
No.
Do you know it's confidence?
Con man history.
It's confidence man.
Okay.
So the original confidence man, it's something, I want to say his last name. It's something like Robert Thomas or something. I forget his exact name. I'm sure Colby could look it up. But So he was a guy that was, what's his name?
Alvin Clarence or Titanic Thompson Thomas.
Thomas.
Yeah.
So yeah,
He's got a couple of different names, but
did you put in Thomas?
I typed the original con man. This is Wikipedia.
Yeah.
It says Alvin Clarence in quotations, Titanic Thompson Thomas.
So Thompson Thomas or whatever Thomas.
Yeah.
Anyway, I still feel like those are off. But either way, so here's what he was doing this is a guy back in like the 1890s. He goes from Chicago. He goes all over the place. This is what he does. He walks up to people and he says. He goes into the very nice business district. He's dressed very nice.
Right.
Walks up to business guys and will walk up to them and say, "Oh my gosh, hey, it's me, Jim. We met the other day at the party, and I met you. I was with my fiance, and you were with. Oh gosh, is it your wife?" And he go, "Oh no, it's my fiance, Jennifer. Right, Jennifer, and you're." He go, "Oh, I'm Bob." "Bob, yeah, that's right. We talked. Remember, we were at the party. It was." He's like, "Oh, it must have been so and so." "Yes, you remember me, right?" "Oh yeah, no, I remember." He doesn't want to say he doesn't remember me. He knows that people are embarrassed. He uses their embarrassment against them, right? So they don't want to say, "Oh, I don't remember you," but you obviously know me and my fiance.
Right.
You just told him about you and your fiance. Doesn't even realize what's happening.
Right.
And so as he starts talking to him, "Oh yeah, hey, whatever happened? Or I didn't know you worked down. Oh yeah, no, I work right here in the building on the 12th floor. Oh okay, how is that going?" He has a little conversation. Very quickly realizes, guy's a stockbroker or maybe he sells insurance. Whatever he does.
Right.
As he has this conversation, he says, "Wow, it's so amazing. I'm so glad I ran into you." And he's got a nice watch on, by the way. The con man, Thomas, has a nice watch on, and he says, "Hey." He said, "My watch," only he doesn't have a nice watch. Sorry, that was when they had pocket watches. Pocket watch, they were about $1,500 back then.
Wow.
Right?
I didn't know that.
So it was a huge, that's a
Symbol
huge
of
symbol of wealth.
Right.
He has one. He shows it. to the guy, and he says, my pocket watch stopped working, and I have several meetings today downtown. Are you going to be here all day? Yes, I leave at 5 o'clock. Oh my gosh, I'm done by 4. I'm going to be at this building over here. You have confidence in me, don't you? And the guy, of course I do.
Right.
We're friends, aren't we? Yes, of course. You have confidence that we know each other socially, don't you? Of course. Do you? And then he says, you have confidence in trusting me with your watch for the day. I have several appointments. I need a watch. And he says, of course I do. You have confidence I'll return the watch. I'll be back here. And the reason I say confidence is that everybody that this guy did this to said the same thing. They said, this guy said confidence like 5 or 6 times.
Oh, because he's planting it in there.
Now, keep in mind, the language is different. It's more
Right.
like trust. You trust me, don't you?
Right.
You trust that you trust that I'm would protect your watch. You
Right.
trust that I'll bring the watch back, don't you? I know your fiance. You know my fiance. We both know Todd, whose house we were at. We're all friends of Todd. You keep in mind all the information he's garnered from your conversation you
He's
gave
spitting
him.
back out, right?
You don't even know this is happening.
Right.
Because it's not even a thing then. So the guy hands him his watch, says, yes. He says, I will meet you at 5 o'clock right here. I will be right here. He says, great, no problem. Good luck with all of your appointments today. Thank you. Hands him his $1,500 watch, which is like a $10,000. It's like $10,000 right now.
Wow.
It's like handing him over your $15,000 or $20,000 Rolex.
Right.
He walks off. This guy's clipping 4, 5, 6 people a day. He does this for about a week or two. He goes to and then of course he resells these watches. He then goes to another city and another city and another city. At some point, he's doing this yearly.
Right.
At some point, there's a guy that he had taken his watch. The guy walks out of his building, sees him. And by the way, there are articles about this guy, and they call him the confidence man. Then they shorten it because back then, they used the Gutenberg presses where they had to put in the letters
Right.
to print the newspapers. So they would say confidence 1, and then they would shorten it to con man. So one day he finally gets caught because a guy walks out and says, that's the guy that stole my watch. And there used to be like police almost on every corner.
Right.
Because, you don't have a cell phone, you don't have a telephone back then. So he went to the closest police officer and, hey, you're the guy, the con man? Yeah. And they grab him. And then, of course, several people come in and ID him. He gets in trouble, whatever. But that's where con man came from. It's confidence man from this guy.
So you're not an OG con man.
William Thompson.
Thank you, William Thompson. That's it. I knew that was the first name was wrong.
Shout out to William.
William
we want
Thompson,
to make sure we give William credit where credit's due.
Yeah. So in that sense, no, I don't think that's it. I'm more of a fraudster.
Okay.
Which is. And you have to have a certain amount of confidence, obviously. I'm walking into a bank. I'm handing them a bunch of fake documents. I'm telling them a story that the documents represent, even if it's not 100% perfect or it's questionable. If you're confident enough, a lot of times the questions that come up, they ask you a question about your credit, about this, about that, and they're like, this guy's got all these documents.
Right.
It kind of makes sense. Go ahead. And I've had that happen where people pulled stuff up on computers and they're like, your social security number says it was issued like within the last year.
Right.
And I'm like, really? Knowing fully well, I just had social security issue this to a child that's 10 months old a year ago.
Right.
And it is, and they're like, yeah, and you don't really have any credit. Your credit's all brand new, right? Well, what's my credit score? And they tell me, and then I go, okay. Have you always used this social security number? Yeah, of course.
Right.
And you've always used it? Of course. Listen. It says it's a year old? Yeah, hold on. And I'd go have paperwork ready, and I'd give them a 5-year-old W-2 that I happen to have because I have all my paperwork with me. So I'd pull out like tax returns or a 5-year W-2 that's 5 years old that has the same social security number. Keep in mind, I just gave you that piece of paper. You can't trust anything I'm giving you. Right. But they would. They look at it and they go.
Is it a rush to get away with that?
Of course.
Are you addicted to, were you, I don't know, maybe you still are, addicted to that?
To walk into a bank and give them a bunch of fake documents and a fake name, just everything is fraudulent, and have them hand you a check for $300,000 and thank you for ripping them off. You feel
addictive.
like I'm 007. I'm walking through passport security with a fake passport issued by the State Department in a homeless guy's name I met 6 months ago. And they're like, oh, well, hey, thank you, Mr. Carter. How are you doing? Welcome back to the United States. Well, thank you. And,
Catch me if you can.
I went to, my favorite is when I went to you ever been to the Ritz-Carlton?
No.
You ever stayed there?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's sad.
It's sad. So
sad.
So if you go to the Ritz, one of the coolest things about going to the Ritz-Carlton is that everyone knows your name. I don't mean like in a friend sense. I mean like the bus boys,
Right.
as you're walking.
Mr. Cox, but you weren't Mr. Cox.
No. I was at that time. I went to Jamaica and we stayed there, and I was Michael Eckert. But I mean, you check in, and I've stayed there before, right? And I know this is what they do. So the chick I bring her there because I know this is what they're going to do. And we check in, and as we're walking to a room, anywhere we go, they're like, hello, Mr. Eckert, how are you? Hey, how's it going?
And the girl didn't go,
oh, of course. She's like, and I'm like, oh, no, that's just, they all know. They memorize all the guest names that are checking in. They'll be calling you, whatever her fake name was at the time, they'll be calling you such a, she's like, you're kidding. I'm like, no, absolutely
So
not.
I'm going to go with con man. I think that's fair.
Awesome. It's awesome.
I'm going to go with con. But here's the deal. So you don't have a drug addiction, no addiction to alcohol when you were a kid.
I'm probably heavily addicted to, I'm probably an addict and an alcoholic. I just wouldn't know.
Because you never used it.
I've never used it. My father was a functioning, well, no, that's not true. He was a binge drinker. He would go on like 2-week drunken binges, and he'd function for a few days.
Did he raise you, or was your mom that raised you?
No. My parents were married. They both raised me. But,
okay.
And he was with State Farm Insurance, and he was an amazing manager.
Okay.
Made them a ton of money. Always won the free trips. Always won the bonuses. Always won. Was just phenomenal. But about every year to 18 months, he'd go on a 2-week drunken bender, and they'd grab him and they'd throw him into a 30-day program or a 60-day. They'd dry him out and put him right back into position. I don't know if they'd still do that now, but that was back in the 70s and 80s and 90s. That's when they did that. They were like, look, this guy's a moneymaker.
Right. We got to keep him around.
And I remember thinking, too, by the way, I remember growing up like that and thinking to myself that as long as you're making a lot of money and you're making the people around you a lot of money, you can pretty much behave however the fuck you want to. And they'll put up with it. Like, they will enable you if you're kind of a superstar. And he was a superstar.
Interesting. Mom, what did your mom do?
She was a stay-at-home mom, devout Catholic. Went to all of us went to church every Sunday. I went to Sunday school. CCD. I'm Catholic, so it's called CCD. I was.
When did you, like, if you were to look back at your life, so you didn't drink?
No, as a result of my father's alcoholism,
You just weren't interested.
I decided
not doing
I
it.
have enough issues.
Yeah.
This isn't going to help.
Right.
And then anybody that I knew that took drugs, he also was addicted to pills.
Right.
Just went along with it. Sometimes it was pills, sometimes it was, but either way, I just knew. I knew I had an addictive personality. You get to know that about yourself anyway, in general.
But it's rare that you have that kind of self-awareness at that age and you're able to make those types of decisions. So you have a strong will at that point, but you become addicted at some point to the hustle.
Yeah,
When did it start
yeah.
for you? Like, when did you go, ooh, I like getting away with stuff? Like, how young were you? What was the...
I was 28 or 29 when I started doing mortgages. I'd never done anything.
You've never done anything illegal before that?
Traffic tickets. I got a couple traffic tickets.
Wow.
I do know there was a kid named Arthur that I signed the back of a check one time for him to help when we were like 17, 18 years old, to help him cash a check. One time I signed it as his father or something like that, but I mean, I don't really consider that. I said the first time I ever that was his problem.
Right.
I'd say the first time I ever broke the law was definitely when I started being a mortgage broker.
What was was it just money that drove you, or getting
Yeah,
away
I was
with
broke. I was broke. I was broke, and I was months behind on my car payment. I actually had bought a house because right after I graduated college, I worked as an insurance agent. I worked insurance adjuster for about almost 2 years, let's say 18 months, and then I just wasn't able to keep up with the work. And it just wasn't happening. So then I started doing construction, and then that was in Florida. Construction's a horrible job. And so I was doing construction, and then the girl I was dating suggested I become a mortgage broker. She was a mortgage broker. And so I did that. And but I still just, just wasn't making enough money. I'm about to lose my car and behind on my mortgage because I'd bought a mortgage bought a house, had a mortgage. And started being a mortgage broker, and just knew I was not going to be able to, had not made money in months trying to get the licensing, get everything going. And I knew this loan had to close. And my manager suggested that I forge a document. Really, it was light forgery. I whited out a 30-day late, made a copy, stuck it in the file. and it cleared underwriting, and then I closed.
I think that stuff goes on a lot in all different industries, right? Well, I mean, it's the means to the end thing. It's okay to, I'm not saying that it's right, but I'm just saying, so you do that and get away with it, and then what happens next?
I mean, I got a check. I was thrilled. And then the next person that came in,
They're like, we can fix your problems.
Of course.
Yeah.
Your W-2, if you made 50, you make 50,000, so you don't qualify for the loan. But if you made 58,000, you'd qualify for the loan. So I changed the W-2 and the pay stubs.
But that's pretty blatant right there.
Yeah.
It's pretty blatant. Yeah. Like for me, I never changed a W-2. And I'm not saying, I'm not, I mean, I did a lot of other things. I tried. But I'm just saying, that's pretty brave, I guess, or brazen, you could say.
Well, I had, speaking with my manager at the time, I felt I had wiggle room where it's like, I've had it, I've been caught, and my brokers had been caught many, many times. Now, at this point, I was a mortgage. It was
pretty common in the mortgage industry, wouldn't you say?
I mean, I wouldn't say common. Like, is there 1 or 2% or 3%? Like, there's a percentage of those types of things. There's roughly 20% of all loans contain some kind of fraud.
Right.
And so. But so, yeah, I mean, is it common? It depends on how that type of, I'd say is common. Lying and saying that you're going to live in a house so you get a higher LTV and a lower interest rate, that's more common because it's just a subtle lie, right? But changing
that's what they
documents.
Got me on.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, that's what they can, you do those things and it's no big deal. But if they want to get you, they can.
Right. Yeah, and lots of people do it, So that's more common. Changing documents is less common.
Right. I never saw that done in.
Oh, I've changed tons of documents.
Well, I know. So how did it progress to that where you're just like, and then did it become an addiction for you?
Well, yeah, I would say the way it started was I was broke. I did not want to, start losing things. And I wanted to seem like I was functioning, right? Like I'm doing okay. And so I start doing that, and eventually that company closes, and then I start my own company, and I hire about a dozen guys. You start off with 5 or 6, and then it becomes a dozen after 6 months or so. So I got like a dozen guys, and these guys are bringing me, and they know what the deal is. I'm not even really closing loans now. I'm just sitting in the office. In my office, these guys are coming in and saying, "Look, I got a deal. Here's what's going on. Boom, 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 boom."
And they're all committing fraud too.
Oh yeah. Okay. Here's the issue. What's the issue? Okay, great.
Let's fix
it. You didn't have the money. Okay, great. Here's what we're gonna do. Right. And so then I start making fake bank accounts so that I can verify the money that you're supposed to have to put in the deal, or money you're supposed to have in reserves.
You could have just bought CDs and got loans on them and put different people's names on them.
I mean,
that's what I did.
Okay, I don't know, but what was easier was
to fake the paperwork.
I just faked the paperwork, and then not just that. Back then, GoDaddy had just come out with the first website where you could actually make your own website. Before that, you had to hire a guy. It was big money but now they had like these dummy websites.
Right. So you create a website.
Creating websites for, and of course anybody. And back then, the bank was it wasn't like a .bank or .
You created your own bank account, like your own bank website.
No, my own bank website. So the bank doesn't even exist. It's like Bank of Ybor.
Oh, you created a bank.
And you can go there.
And verify people's assets.
Right.
Okay.
Or the money they're supposed to have in their down payment. And so all you have to do is once you put the money in the title company gives you a letter saying, yes, he's got $25,000 in there. And then they look at the bank statement, it shows that you got out $25,000, but they don't ask for the cashier's check. Not that if they did, I'll come up with a cashier's check. You can call the bank to verify it.
Right, because I'm the bank.
I'm the bank.
Right.
So,
wow.
But you realize also being the bank or being the employer or being the property management company, you start to realize these guys, they're calling 1 out of 5. I can't tell you how many times we close and a week later, you get a phone call saying we're verifying this guy's employment. And you're like, I'm thinking, this guy closed 2 weeks ago. What if I tell you he hadn't worked here in 2 months?
Right.
You're supposed to call before.
Right.
Sometimes they'd call the day after, 2 days beforehand, or that day, and you'd verify. And really, I'd say it's 1 out of 4 or 5 that we're even calling.
Wow.
They're just taking, a lot of these guys are just taking the documents you sent them.
Yeah.
And there's other ways to verify it, obviously. And the more you get caught, the more you learn, right?
Right.
The W-2s, obviously, they would check the tax ID number, or they'd go to sunbiz.com, which is the Secretary of State corporate website online. So they'd go to check and verify that this is a real corporation and how long it's been in business. So then you have to actually
create them.
Right. So now I'm buying old corporations, changing their name. They've been in existence for 5 or 6 years. I'm just paying the back. They're inactive, so you pay the inactive fees.
Right.
And now I've got a corporation. And now you can have worked at a company that's been in business for 6 years.
Yeah.
And I can verify that, and I'll make a website.
And is that an addiction? I mean, or is it just the money?
It's fun. I mean, it's fun, and it's fun to. It's addicting. I definitely get a thrill out of beating the bank. You know that there's this. You know, and there was definitely that whole. You know, the bank. You know, it's like, oh, well, what if the bank's going to lose money, or what if and keep in mind too, at this point, I'm just doing this so that you can get into a house.
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing God's work. You're a single mother.
Endeavor.
You're a single mother. I'm just trying to get you into a house. I'm doing this for you.
So there's no
the fact that I'm making $5,000 on the deal.
And you're not feeling this tug inside you like, man, I'm getting off track.
Oh, no. No, I'm on track.
No conscience.
This is the right thing to do.
You're a mess.
So
I'm saving the world. Yeah.
So I did that for a while, like a year or so. And then eventually I get caught. And I have two friends of mine, Gretchen and Pete Zayas. I just found out Gretchen actually got married a couple of years ago. She's not married to Pete anymore. I wish I could remember her new name.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she and Pete, they get caught doing, you know, whatever they're doing.
Right.
And then they wear a wire on me because they know what I'm doing. And I end up getting indicted. I actually never got indicted. I just signed it was a criminal complaint. So anyway, I end up getting charged.
But there's a case. Oh, you were charged.
I get charged with wire fraud.
And it was a federal case, but you weren't indicted?
No, because you can say, hey, you don't have, I'll just sign off.
I'll just sign off. Gotcha.
I'll just sign. I'll waive that. I'm guilty.
Yeah.
So I'm pleading guilty.
Right.
I plead guilty, and I get 3 years probation, but I can't own the mortgage company anymore. And I'm quickly going under. My wife and we get divorced, right? Mm-hmm. So she basically takes any money that I have. There was no dollar loss, so I didn't have to pay anything other than my lawyer was like $75,000.
Okay.
And so $75,000 to plead me guilty.
Right. Bad deal. Take the public defender.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, I get 3 years paper, and now I can't do that. And so what I decide to do is, I always think to myself, looking back, what I should have done.
What should you have done?
I should have claimed bankruptcy. I should have moved into my old bedroom in my parents' house, you know. But I did not want to be, my parents thought I was amazing because they had always assumed they'll be taking care of me forever.
Right.
They'll be somehow supplementing my life
because of the dyslexia.
Because of the dyslexia, And keep in mind, after I graduated college, I tried to work in the insurance industry like my dad. I was going to be an insurance adjuster until eventually I could get hired by State Farm and I could be like an agent, but that didn't happen. Like I couldn't even handle the workload.
Right.
So, but I then fairly quickly, I became a broker, and I'm making money, and I got a ton of rental property. Like, if we're driving down the road to go somewhere, like I own that house, I own those 3 duplexes. Oh yeah, I just bought these 4 quad. Like we got over 100. Well, not 100. Sorry, my wife and I, when we got divorced, she had over 50 rental units.
Wow.
So all fraud, all the fraud,
okay.
all bad, all bad paper. Like put nothing down. Like
are
we're
you
putting
renting
money
them?
down. We're getting money back.
Are you ahead? Are you renting them at this point?
Oh no, they're all rented. We're doing great.
Okay.
We're not. No, they're rented.
Right.
They're rented, and they're all making about $150 each every year. So we're making. She could just live on that, and that's basically what happened. Why we divorced. She keeps everything. Give her a couple $100,000, which leaves me broke, and I'm now a felon. I have no real way to make money,
right.
And I have a couple $2,000 a month in child support. So I end up. Like I said, I should have claimed bankruptcy, should have gone and tried to sell used cars or done something legitimate. But instead, what I did was I thought, felt like I was dabbling before. So what I decided is I'm going to start.
Down.
Yeah, I'm going to double down on it. You're kind of an ass too, right? Like I've heard your story. You just.
I am not.
Nobody could explain to you were in trouble.
Right.
You
That's
did this.
fair.
You're going to prison.
Right. That wasn't.
What? I need a new lawyer. That's what the problem
lawyer.
here isn't. It's not me.
Yeah.
You're just the wrong lawyer. And this guy says the same thing. You're the wrong lawyer. This guy says the same. I need a lawyer that will tell me what I want to hear.
Right. Facts. Yeah.
Yeah. That's not.
Yeah.
And so that was the same kind of thing. Is that I'm not doing that. You're fucking crazy. So I go and I decide I'm gonna start flipping properties, and which sounds cool. And then in an area of Tampa called Ybor City, which at that time, this is 20-something years ago. So at that time, you could buy basically a crummy property, run down, for 50 grand. But the whole area was also being kind of revitalized, right? Like they're always trying to dump a bunch of money. The city's always trying to dump a bunch of taxpayer money into these forsaken areas that really are never coming back.
Right.
But hey, let's dump $80 million of your money into this.
Right.
And so they're doing that.
Right.
So there are places in the area where it's like, oh, see, that's kind of nice. Oh, they look at that. That's nice. Nobody will ever go there. But, you know, and so what I did was I went in there and I started buying these houses for $50,000. And I thought, I'm going to renovate them and sell them. The issue with that is that the people that want to buy in those areas have horrible credit.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, well, you know, the way to get around that. So my borrowers in that area are horrible. So what I need to do is start creating my own borrowers because that's the logical step. We need to get rid of the problem is the borrower.
Right.
Let's get rid of the borrower. If we can remove the borrower. So I decided to start creating borrowers. And what I ultimately ended up doing is going to Social Security, getting them to issue me Social Security numbers for children that don't exist.
Wow.
And, you know, it's a bunch of phone calls to figure it out. I had to make a fake birth certificate. That took some time. Had to make a fake shot record. But then I could just go in there and say, hey, my kid was born without a birth certificate.
Probably could not do that now, but yeah.
Actually, you can.
Okay.
But 10 months ago, and you know, they would look and they'd check it out and they go, oh, wow, yeah, you're right. Yeah. No, none of these, that's just great, right? None of these states or counties are connected, right? So they don't
like an
know.
old system, right?
Otherwise, why would I bring in my birth certificate? I'd say, hey, my son's name is, and they'd look it up and they'd go, wow, you're right, he doesn't have a birth certificate. None of it's connected.
Right.
So you go in, you give them that, they grab that, they feel the
paper.
Of
course, you bought the paper
yeah, I bought it. The embossed, they feel the embossed little seal.
Thing. Yeah.
And they go, oh, yeah, okay. Oh, and then they go, well, hold on a minute. He has to have one. They look and they go, you're right, he doesn't. So what I'm telling them is verified. They're not thinking it's all fake.
Right.
They're thinking it's going to come up. So anyway, they give me a Social Security number for a 10-month-old. The credit bureaus don't know that. Credit bureaus only know what you tell them.
So you start building credit for these.
I build credit very quick. I get 3 secure credit cards, make the payments. Now they've got 700 credit scores. I, of course, can already say he's been working here for 5 years. And I don't say he's a 10-month-old. I say he's a 30-year-old, right?
Right.
So I get all these things, and so these guys with perfect credit are now buying these houses for $50,000. The other problem with the $50,000 is buying it for $50,000 does nothing for me.
Right.
What I need to do is I need these
a loan.
I need these to be able to appraise for 200, 250. So I was dating a girl.
So you have to close some comps.
Yeah, I have to create some comps. So they're not buying the houses. They're buying them for 50, but I would pay
200
money.
and get cash back.
I paid the extra doc stamps.
Right.
And so the sale looks like it's a sale of 250 or 200 or 230 or 195. And so I buy enough of these that this area shoots up through the roof. It shot up so high that Forbes magazine said that after I've been doing this for about a year, they said that the zip code was 33605. It was the Ybor City zip code was one of the top 20 fastest growing zip codes in the nation. I don't know where it was on the list. So what these guys are doing now, this one guy. Now I've got 5 or 6 of these guys at least. Each one owns like 5 to 6 houses. So they would buy a house for 50. It's worth 200. They would go to the bank and get a loan.
And then get the cash back.
And they borrow 190,000, 180,000. I only got 50 or 60 in it, so I make a profit of 130. And then I make payments on it for 6 months. And then my guy would have a tragic accident in a multi-car pileup where he was life-flighted to Tampa General. I'd print out a newspaper article, and so when I stopped paying,
you'd send it to the bank.
I'd send it to the bank,
Hardship.
and they'd say, "This guy's poor guy. He's in a coma." I'd always say it was from his sister. She'd be like, "He's in a coma." The doctors say even if he wakes up, he'll never work again.
You're a mess.
Imaginative, really, is what my lawyer said.
Imaginative.
Listen, the judge said, Mr. Cox's, what did he say? Oh God, he has a great quote. It's funny, in true crime, those things that when they say them, you're just devastated by. Yeah. But in true crime, it's like my federal judge said I was one of the most amazing con artists he'd ever seen in his life. Something along those lines. I was just like, at the time, I was like, I know what it is. The scope, the smoke, complexity, and nefariousness of Mr. Cox's crimes are breathtaking. I put it on. I put that quote on the. It's on the cover of my book. It's an amazing quote.
It's breathtaking. I'm trying to remember, they called me deplorable. I remember that.
I would use that too.
Breathtaking, though. That's, you really had arrived at that point.
Yeah, and at the time I didn't think so.
No. Okay, so we're going to talk about that because, so this is just the beginning.
Oh yeah, it goes on and on. I don't know how much time you got, but it goes on. What ends up happening is I'm doing this. So I end up pulling out whatever, 11.5 million, doing just dozens and dozens of it. The FBI said it was 109 houses. That's not true. But
it was like 88.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody asked me that one time. It was probably like 80, 70, 80.
I already know because they said that about me. I was like, come on.
Yeah. It's the argument between like, they said I killed 15 people. It was only 12.
Right. Those guys.
I feel like you're still a scumbag.
You're right.
But yeah, so what happens is eventually the FBI comes to get me. Someone ends up getting caught. They work with a task force. They come to get me. And I have a buddy who worked for the sheriff's department at the time. He used to date a chick that was on the task force. She comes and tells him, listen, your buddy Matt, and he's yeah, we just handed over a task force finding to the FBI. They're going to come and get him. He's already on federal probation for this.
Oh, wow.
For crime.
You're on probation.
I'm still on probation.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm on federal probation.
This all happened within 3 years after?
Yeah, probably 2 years of the 11 and a half.
You were busy.
Yeah, 18 months. Probably 18 months
to get
to
all
2
that
years.
done. Okay.
So I decide, like, I'm not going to prison.
Yeah.
I'm adorable. It's not going to work out. I had seen Shawshank.
Yeah.
And that dude's like 6'4".
Right.
Andrew Dufresne was a big guy.
You're like, I'm not going.
I'm not doing that. And I didn't know anything about camps, and I didn't know there was different levels, and that they're not going to put you in a pen.
Do you wish you would have just taken the deal at that point?
Oh, no. What I wish I had done was when I first went in to see my lawyer, the first time I went to go see my lawyer, when it was just minor. I mean, I got probation. Right. He was telling me, you haven't been indicted. There's no dollar law. If you go and grab a bunch of, he's like, the FBI thinks you're running a mill. I didn't even know what a mill was. He's like, like a mill, you're churning out. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. He said, you're churning out bad loans. But they didn't know that. That's what Pete and Gretchen were like, you don't understand. He's got 12 guys. They're all committing fraud. But all they have is me. Right. So I'm like, I'll take a plea.
Right.
So, I'm not going to tell on anybody. I thought he was a gangster. Right. So what I would have done at that time, he told me, we can do something called pretrial intervention. You don't owe any money. So if you go and grab a bunch of files and give up a bunch of your mortgage brokers, then I could keep you from being indicted at all. You won't even be indicted. Because it's better to be, he said, listen, it's better to be a witness than a defendant.
Right.
You just be a witness against these guys. And he's like, and they're all going to cooperate. They're all going to.
They're going to turn on you like that. Right.
And he's like, and I was like, I'm not. So if I knew then what I know now, I would have gone to the Friday, how you have like a Friday meeting on sales.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would have gone into the Friday meeting with all 12 of those guys sitting around with a dolly, walked up to the file cabinet, scooped it up, and said, listen, you guys are going to be getting some phone calls from the FBI soon. I suggest you do the right thing, and wheeled it right out. Because when I got caught, every one of those guys cooperated against me.
Right, of course.
So it's like.
I know. Oh, I had like grown men that had called me and go, louder. Here's the thing. I can't go to prison. I can't go. I'm like, what? I got kids. I'm like, I don't have kids.
That's exactly what Pete and Gretchen said. Like, I have kids. I'm like, I got a kid.
I got kids. Yeah.
But but it's everybody.
Somebody's going down, right? So you would have said,
right,
it's going to be you, not me.
Right.
Okay.
But I didn't. I said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm a tough guy. It's easy to be a tough guy when you're looking at 3 years probation.
Right.
So I take the 3 years probation. Anyway, so when my buddy comes in and says the FBI is going to come arrest you, I immediately pack up my vehicle. I actually traded my vehicle in and got a temp tag because the temp tag is registered to the dealership.
Oh.
It's so funny when I go in to turn in my vehicle. They're like, yeah, we'll transfer your tag. I'm like, no, I want a new tag. They're like, no, we'll just pull it off your Audi. It's like, no, I want a new tag. You can give me a temp tag, right? Yeah. I'll give you a 30-day temp tag. Are there 60-day temp tags? Well, you'll probably have the new one. Okay,
I'll take the 60.
Yeah, I'll take the 60. So they put a temp tag on there. I get an Audi A8, and I take that vehicle. I load it up. I run up all my credit cards. Best thing I did. I didn't know it at the time. At the time, I was furious. I had just paid off like $30,000 in student loans with Bank of America money, and I rushed to the bank to pull out the cash and the check had cleared that night. And all my student loans were paid off. Of course, now I don't owe that
I was
money.
going to say, yeah, because that sticks
which
with
is
you.
nice.
It's nice,
right? So anyway, what I did was, I ran up all my credit cards. Hit American Express, Bank of America, all of them. Bank of America still won't give me a credit card. They're holding on. I
can't imagine why.
They're holding on to resentment.
They're holding a grudge.
Did you ever take? Did you take RDAP?
Yes, I did.
They're holding on to resentment. Same thing with American Express. They're holding on to resentment. It was $30,000. It was 20 years ago. Let it go, fellas. I want to get miles on the new American Express. I heard it's amazing. Anyway, so
yeah, I don't have one either.
Yeah,
so.
they're not budging. So anyway, so I run up everything I can, pack my vehicle with everything. I take it. I go to Atlanta. I rent a house. I only had like 80 grand because I only had like a day to get out like 80 grand. So I get out that money. I rent this piece of property from a guy named Michael Shanahan, and then I go downtown and I satisfy the loans on Michael Shanahan's house.
Okay.
So he had...
Oh, he was behind.
No.
You just got him caught up.
No.
Okay.
He had 3 mortgages. Actually, he either had 2 or 3. I can never remember. He had 2 or 3 mortgages from Bank of America. So I go downtown and I write up a satisfaction of mortgage from Bank of America, like he paid it off.
Okay, gotcha.
He'd owned the house like 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
So I do that. So I create a satisfaction of mortgage for the first mortgage and then another one for the second mortgage. I got a notary stamp, like those are easy to get, and I do the whole thing. It looks perfect. So I file them, and then a few months later, because they're way behind in Fulton County. So a few months later, it shows up. So I've kind of hang out for a few months, right?
So
I'm just dicking around.
Right.
I mean, in the meantime, I went to Tallahassee and borrowed like 60 grand on another house. But so this one, so I do this, and then when that shows up, and then I go to 3 hard money lenders and get each one of them to come out to the house, and they lend me.
Did they like hunt you down when you walked away? I had a hard money lender threaten me once, like, I'm going to take you. You didn't have them hunt you down?
Those guys. So I did have one of their kids send me a thing on Instagram one time.
Really?
He said, yeah. He just said something. I forget. He said something. I was like, who's your dad? Oh, how's he doing?
Yeah.
He goes, my dad gets your checks every 2 or 3 months. That check's nothing. I'm like, he'll be all right. He'll be all right. Why are you holding on to
resentment?
Your dad's your dad's a lawyer with a few $1 million that he lends out at 18% interest. He's going to be okay. Right. Anyway. He actually, I think they got paid back by the
insurance,
title insurance.
Title insurance. Yeah.
So what ends up happening is so each one of these hard money lenders shows up. I'm living in a house. By the way, I also stole Michael Shanahan's identity. By the way, so I'm living there as Michael Shanahan in a house that's registered that's titled Michael Shanahan that I've owned for 6 years now. No mortgage.
Right.
So these guys are all like, it's worth $200,000. I'll lend you $150,000. So I go to 3 separate title companies, 3 separate insurance policies, and 3 separate hard money lenders, and I close them all within a day. Each one gives me $150,000. I end up making around $400,000. They take a ton of fees and shit. So I get about $400,000. I deposit it into a bunch of bank accounts. I pull that money out. I got about $400,000. I'm blown through the 80 by now. So I take off. I go to Charlotte, North Carolina. I get myself into a condo, get another car, get another. By this point, by the way, I'm surveying homeless people to get their identities.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that.
Say something.
I love the homeless.
Yeah,
I love
me too. They're amazing. They're so trusting.
Yeah.
For $20.
Yeah.
$20. They'll
$20 is a lot of money.
They'll take a survey.
Right.
What's so funny is now I realize, looking back on it, I shouldn't have even given the $20. I should have gotten a bunch of like $10 McDonald's gift certificates. I gave them $20. I thought they were thrilled. They're like, "You can give me $20 cash right now." To a survey.
That went to drugs. If you'd have gotten the McDonald's cards.
I know.
Okay. All right.
Which is part of why they were so excited. If I had said, "Here's a 10," they'd be like, "Fuck."
Yeah, I wouldn't have meant as much.
So I was surveying those guys, and then I'd go home and I'd order all their documents online. They'd show up, and then I'd go in and get a driver's license in their name.
Are you feeling uneasy at this point?
Oh no! By this point, there's got to be 10 or 20 articles in the St. Pete Times, Tampa Tribune. Atlanta had done a bunch of articles. Now the Secret Service is looking for me in Atlanta.
It's getting worse. So
it's good. I'm fine though. I feel great.
Serious?
Really? Listen, up until
oh my gosh, I would be
up
like
until that part of my life
physically sick all the time.
No, up until that part of my life, that may have been the best part of my life.
Wow.
It
How
was,
old were you?
You know, these guys, when they get caught, they're like, thank God it's over. The anxiety, listen.
It wasn't like that
I'm
for
not
you.
driving a stolen car with like a broken tail light and a body in the trunk, okay? You know how many tickets I got when I was on the run? I'm driving like a maniac. I got a driver's license that was issued from South Carolina or North Carolina or Georgia or wherever. The cops pulled me. I'm driving a brand new car.
You have to know that this is all such a house of cards. Like, it's never going to last.
Absolutely not. I'm getting pulled over. I got so many tickets in one guy's name. I had to go to traffic school as him so he didn't lose his license. I can't. I own a condo and I got a couple cars in his name. And people they pulled me over. I got full coverage insurance. I got a credit card. I
don't know how you did it though. Like, I don't know how you did it sober and it didn't just eat at you.
Oh, you mean guilt? You mean like a conscience?
Yeah.
Oh, no. No, I mean, I understand the concept of conscience.
Okay.
I've heard about it.
Yeah.
I feel horrible for those people. Like, what's that got to be like, right? Like, it's gnawing at you. I sleep like a baby.
Really?
I had like a $2,000 or $3,000 Sealy Posturepedic mattress. It's amazing. It's right to bed. Bought it on some homeless guy's credit card.
Gosh.
So
okay. So things are going good, I guess. But you and I talked in the first podcast and you said there was always, like, for me too, how do I get back to the normal people? You know, like, I felt like maybe I'm juggling and I just want to get back to where I just want a normal job and a normal life and all that. You didn't ever feel that way?
when I was on the run?
I guess just in general. Like,
my goal was ultimately get $2, $3, $4 million.
What was the end game?
Initially, it was get a few $1 million, reacclimate into society, right? And then just buy some real estate and just collect rent and be a maintenance guy for your own real estate.
You really thought it would work?
At that time, I did. This is 2003, 4, 5, 6.
But I mean,
the internet wasn't what it was now. You're not going anywhere now. Like, now you're just. I would have been. Everybody's like, if this hadn't happened, you'd still be out there. No, I wouldn't.
No.
I would have been caught eventually.
Yeah, you would. But you didn't think that you thought you could get away with it.
Of course. Like I said, the internet, it's a fad. It's not gonna take off. So, back then it was still local. Like, it's the local newspaper, you still had like 3 major channels.
Yeah.
I
still just don't think there was a time for me. It felt like a house of cards for me. Like, this is crashing. You didn't feel it? No.
I didn't feel that.
You really thought there was an out for you. You had a vision and a future plan.
Yeah, keep on. I've got like what, 3.5 to, was it 3.5 million, 4 million? Whatever. I got around 3.5 million.
Wow. I don't think I ever had that kind of money. And I got a way higher restitution than you. You're good.
So anyway, eventually, listen, and while I was on the run, I got caught in a bank one time, handcuffed, questioned, convinced them that they'd made a mistake. The bank obviously did something wrong. They bring me down to the police station. I fill out a police report. They let me go.
Yeah.
And the whole time, the guy's calling me Gary Sullivan, which is a homeless guy, a homeless prostitute that I surveyed in Vegas. Yeah, he took a survey. And and I had an ID in his name, not a driver's license. So anyway, I take off there, and then I eventually end up in Nashville. I'm doing the same thing. I'm buying a bunch of houses, driving up the prices, pulling out money. I find out Dateline's coming out. So I find out that there's going to be this article in Dateline, and
you find out you're going to be
not an article. I'm sorry. There's going to be a 1-hour special about me on Dateline.
Wow.
And so that's not good.
No.
Because that's going to be, the local newspaper, okay, big deal, but this is Dateline, and I was thinking, even if I moved, like it airs, and I move.
Right.
So I have everything packed up, and I know when it's coming out, and I'm just like in a hotel somewhere, hunkered down, and I wait a couple of days, and then I just move somewhere else. Like, nobody will recognize me. Yeah, but they're going to be showing that in 2 months on a rerun. And then in 2 years, they'll show it again, and then it'll be sold to some.
So at this point, I
have a problem.
Yeah, you have a problem.
So I'm going to go to Australia.
Okay.
So,
they like criminals there.
So I found out that, I'm showing up as Walter Holcomb, who did not have a criminal record.
Felony, right?
He obviously had a drug problem, which is why he was on the street when I met him, and $20.
Right.
And so I had a passport I had a driver's license and a passport in his name. I had several bank accounts in his name because I always had a few of these guys going.
Right.
And so I was ready to go as him. And at that point, Australia, if you showed up with like $100,000 and and a business plan.
They'll give you a loan.
No, a loan? No.
Oh, a grant?
I don't need money.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying that the minimum, you show up here with $100,000 and a business plan, we'll make you a permanent resident alien.
Oh, okay.
And permanent resident, yeah, permanent resident. So I couldn't vote, but I could get like a driver's license. I could buy property. I can open a business. I cannot take a job.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You're here. You can contribute to our society, but you can't vote. You can't, whatever.
Gotcha.
So I thought I'll go there because in my mind, they're not going to have Dateline there or something. I don't know what I was thinking, but I thought I'll go there, and I'm so far removed. And so I'm pulling money out of the bank. I'm trying to get a bunch of money. I was just going to take some of it in cash, and I'm going to put some of it back into a corporate account. And I'm going to show up there. I'm not showing up with 100,000. I'm showing up with a few million.
Right.
So anyway, what ends up happening is the girl I was dating ended up confiding in a friend of ours. And that girl contacted the Secret Service, and she negotiated a reward, $10,000, which is embarrassing.
You're like, I'd have paid you more.
I'd have given her $1 million. I'd have given her $500,000, and you still call them. I just need 20 minutes. Give me a 10-minute head start. Because she's gonna call them anyway. I gotta leave.
Right.
So anyway, one day I come home, and the Secret Service pulls up, and they just pull up and get on the ground, the vest, the whole thing. Yeah. And they throw me on the ground, and then, the same thing when everybody, was like, I was so relieved. I was like,
You were not.
This is.
I wasn't relieved when the FBI came in at all. I think there was, I don't know where the relief came. I guess maybe going to prison for me was, even though it was really painful for me, it was just like, all right, and I fought for so long. Like I was out and fighting for more than 7 years. So it just felt, okay,
that was horrible. That's I just want to. As soon as I got grabbed, just like let's get this over with.
So were you locked up from that point on? They didn't. Oh yeah, you didn't get no.
Come on. They got like almost,
you were a danger to society.
Over 20 passports issued by the State Department.
I wasn't a flight risk.
They got state IDs in different people's names.
So they put you in a county jail?
Well, they put you in the U.S. Marshals holdover.
Right, but it's a county jail, right?
It's county jail. Yes.
Right.
Initially it was, and then eventually I ended up in Atlanta City Detention Center, right across from like the federal building, I think, in downtown Atlanta. And it probably was still a county jail, right? But we were in the federal pod.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're there. How long were you there?
I was there a year till I got sentenced. And then once I was sentenced, I went to Coleman, Florida. I went to the medium for 3 years. And then after 3 years of the medium, they sent me to the low. I was there for 8 or
What was your original sentence?
9 years, for 9 years.
You did a lot of time.
I did 13 years. I actually did just shy of 13, but I rounded up to 13.
Me too.
Because it just sounds,
I did just shy of 5.
If I say, it was 12
it's
years
not like,
and 9 months.
Yeah, I did 4 years and 9 months. No,
Yeah,
I go with 5. Yeah. I used to say 4.5, and then I was like, no, I'm taking every day I got. I'll go to 5.
Rounding up. I did 13.
And so, but you were sentenced to 20?
I was sentenced to 26.
Wow. So how long were you in before you said, hey, let me start turning on people in here? And
no, I was immediate. When they put the cuffs on me, I said, listen, I think you guys might want to talk to me. I know some stuff. Officer.
Right.
I'm with you guys now. 5 minutes ago, it was f y'all.
Right. Now we're on the same team.
There's some bad people out here. 26 years. We need to spread that. Tommy can do 5. Jennifer can do 2. Billy's I never liked Billy. He can do 8. But it didn't. Yeah. So
you did whatever you could to minimize. But then you get to prison. You're like, the grass is greener here. I've got more options.
When I initially cooperated, they didn't arrest anybody.
Oh.
That's why I got 26 years. They give you 26 years and then say, well, when we start indicting people,
but they didn't.
We're going to start chipping away.
They didn't do that they didn't go after anyone but me. They like to say you were the leader.
I was without a doubt. Yeah. I'm at the top of that little pyramid thing.
Right.
But yeah, so no, none of these people got grabbed. Not because of anything I said. The only people that had gotten grabbed and gone to jail and were getting out by the time I got grabbed. Like some people had already listen. I had one co-defendant that went down to the federal building and said, "Look, I just want to plead guilty to what I did and go to jail." And they're like, "Okay, well, we don't really." We've been waiting to catch Mr. Cox. She said, "Yeah, I don't care about that. I just need to go to jail."
How much time did she get?
30 months, 3 years. So by the time I was caught, she's gone. She's back home. Matter of fact, she's now a real estate agent, living
Doing
another,
well.
doing great. And I've talked to her multiple times. Listen, all the people that same thing with, there was a girl named Becky. She also she got 60, I think I want to say she got 60 months, and then they reduced it down to like close to 30, almost in half, because she cooperated against me. I've talked to her. I've talked to Allison. I've talked to, there's a guy named Eric Tamargo.
What about your judge or the?
Never talked to my judge.
Thought about it.
I've thought about writing him a letter.
Saying, hey, come on the podcast. What about the
Never
probation officer?
They
Really?
would never come on.
Ooh,
They would
I'm going to
never.
make that happen. I'm going to get my judge. And
If I could get my,
not the prosecutor, but I think I already talked to probation. He's coming on.
what really? Yeah.
Do you want me to reach out to him for you?
You know what's funny about my judge is that, so I get 26 years.
Right.
So I think I know stuff about my judge and what happened in my case more so than he would want out there.
Right.
But I've already said it multiple times.
Right.
And so,
And I don't know if I'll get my judge, but
well, what happened, and they typically just don't.
right.
You know, they're first of all, they're so above
Right.
this type of thing. This is beneath them.
Yeah.
It
shouldn't be.
It's not.
Yeah.
But I didn't say it
Right,
was.
right.
That's what they think they are.
Right.
But so in my case, I got 26 years. And keep in mind, many things happen that shouldn't happen. In front of them, they're saying, Your Honor, first of all, I've never been incarcerated.
Right.
Your Honor, I know even the prosecutors, look, I know 26 years is a lot.
Right.
But keep in mind, there are multiple cases going. Mr. Cox is going to be coming back here on a Rule 35, which is a sentence reduction for
Right.
cooperation. On his, or on at least one, you know, he's going to be coming back on one case that they were working, and possibly a second case.
Right.
So he will be coming back. This is what they're not allowed to say that.
Right.
He's supposed to be giving me a sentence based on what I've done, and cooperation has nothing to do with it. So by doing that, you're giving him an out to say, well, I'll give him the 26 because, yeah, he'll come back.
Right. Right.
Instead of just saying, hey, this is what he did. God, that's a lot of time for this dollar amount.
Right.
You know,
Because your
there's a lot of
dollar's
time.
less than mine. You
6
got
million,
26 years. That's crazy. I mean,
Keep in mind, every enhancement there is, I checked almost every
Right, I was gonna say,
single box.
yeah. Do you think you deserve the 26?
No.
Really?
I think I deserve 10.
Really?
I think I deserve 10 because of the dollar amount.
I
Because
got 7 though.
okay.
I think you were so much grander than me.
I mean, maybe, but just being, you know, I don't think that
10 is low.
I think 10 and I would have learned my lesson. But,
Oh, okay.
you know, I think 10, first of all, you know, I have 4 people that lost money. So there's over 50 victims, which they struggled to get it to 50. Like, I mean, literally, like, let me put it this
They
way.
called every bank a victim, like Washington
No,
Beach.
they
Oh,
called some of the banks multiple victims.
no.
So
Is the system corrupt?
So Countrywide was Countrywide Bank, that's a victim.
Right.
Countrywide Home Loans, that's a victim.
Right.
Countrywide Mortgage, that was a
I
victim.
know, that's the government
And it's
math.
like what are you doing? Like, that's all country. It's all owned by Countrywide. That's not how it works, Mr. Cox.
Well,
And-
they do the same thing, right, that we do, but they just do it on their side and they get away with that.
Right.
So
where you're trying to minimize what you did, they're trying to maximize it.
So it's like,
but
yeah.
but it's not equal. You're making it seem like there's a scale and it's equal. It's not equal. It's
No, it's not equal. No. I know that it's not equal.
So
I'm just saying.
you're here screaming. That's not what happened. It doesn't matter what you think.
No, it doesn't.
So, but
Well,
yeah, go
no,
ahead.
what I'm saying, when I say equal, I broke the law. Like, I had a really hard time with this. In my mind, I'm like, wait, like, you guys are corrupt. That's why I asked the FBI to take a lie detector test. Because I was like, we have to all get on the same page here. You're corrupt, I'm corrupt. We need to own where we're at. They weren't hearing us. They weren't listening. So I'm asking you, like, are they, like, to me, all the hustles that you're doing, they're doing the same hustling. It's just they have all the
Yeah,
power.
but they're making the rules.
I know.
Right.
And that's not fair. I get it
You
that
know
it's
how to
not
get
going
it. You know how to make it fair.
Don't break the law.
Don't break the law.
I get
Don't
that.
put yourself in that situation.
I get that.
Right.
I get that.
So anyway, I go in front of the judge, 26 years. They never ever. They don't. So what happens is by the time I'm sentenced, it's late 2007.
Okay.
And
Market's
people,
crashing.
right. People are always like, oh, it's the 2008 site. financial crisis.
2007 it started crashing.
2007 is crashing. Been crashing all year.
Right,
Like
right,
I got arrested and banks started going under.
So now this is the indictment of the day. They got to have.
Oh, I'm the poster boy for mortgage fraud.
Right.
Right. And so the judge even says it when I'm being sentenced. He's talking about how banks are going under.
Right,
this and that.
right.
So he's saying all this thing, and I'm thinking like you're
not
talking
when I was doing this.
trillions of dollars. Like
Right,
I've got a minor. This has nothing to do with
yeah.
This is banks making bad policies that are
Right.
trickling down. That has nothing to do with me.
Well, the banks were in on it too, so it's just hard. That was hard for me.
Right. So I get sentenced 26 years. I go to prison. They never because they did have these cases going, but now they've got banks going under.
Right.
The FBI doesn't focus on these little tiny cases that they have.
Right.
They're focusing on bigger cases.
Right.
And as a result, 3-4 years go by. There's nobody been arrested. So I'm calling my lawyer saying, "What's going on?" And she's saying,
Because you want to get a sentence reduction.
she's saying you're stuck with 26 years. And of
Gosh,
course,
after 3 years, you're still thinking it's 26. And how old would you have been when you got out?
I would have been without gain time 65, with gain time over 60.
Wow.
I'm not supposed to be here right now.
Right.
So what ends up happening is I talk to her and she says, I'm like, when your lawyer's on the phone and she starts crying,
I had that happen. That's a really bad thing.
you're thinking,
This is so not good.
I don't feel like this is, I feel like
This
you're
isn't healthy.
good for me. This isn't good for me. You're crying. I'm a rock and you're crying.
I had that happen.
I'm so
Portia, you're gonna. I'm like, oh no, that was my female lawyer. Maybe they just do that. I don't know.
I don't know. She was actually very nice. Her
Right.
name is
So
Millie.
was
She's just a very nice person.
Right.
And here's what's funny about her: public defender, and always answer my calls. Like they don't have to do. You know how many
Right.
guys I talk to? They're
I
like,
think the public defenders, my husband had one and they killed it for him. He got probation. I'm like regretting that I ever did anything but that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, what happens is I remember one day I get like a letter, call me. I call her. I say, "What's up?" She tells me she went in front of the judge, my judge. She said, "I went in front of your judge."
That's a heavy thing to, I mean, sorry to interrupt, but you're doing time with a 26-year top. That's pretty heavy.
Yeah, it's
heavy.
depressing.
Okay.
And she comes to me one time and she says, "Listen, I was in front of the judge the other day she had a client, got sentenced, and then I think she went back to see him. And everybody says that he likes her. He thinks she's funny, nice, whatever, because she's feisty. She'll argue with him and he finds it comical. So she comes back for some reason, goes back to say something to him. I think her version was that he had mouthed off to the brother of the person being, like he had mouthed off to him. She went back to say, "What are you doing? This is this guy's brother. He's about to get 20 years and you're giving him shit because he said his brother's a good person? Like, what is wrong?" Like, and so he's like, "Oh, you're." So he says, "What's going on with Matt Cox?" And she went, "Why do you mention Matt Cox?" He goes, "I don't remember the names of a lot of the guys I sentenced, because I'll be honest with you." He goes, "But you give a white collar criminal 26 years?" He said, "You remember his name." He said, I thought he was coming back."
Wow.
Not
Yeah.
appropriate.
Right.
She's telling me this on the phone.
Yeah.
And she says, so I said to him, well, what should he do?
Yeah.
She explained to him, look, none of those cases panned out. They never worked those cases. They had other cases. They fall into the wayside. So he's not coming back.
Right.
And he said, what? He goes, well, he needs to get back in front of me. And she goes, well, how does he do that? What can he do? And he said, oh, I can't tell you what he can do, but I'm telling you, he needs to get himself back in front of me.
Mm.
And so
So you're thinking.
well, I'm thinking, but I'm also thinking, what the do I do? Like, there's nothing that works, right? You have 1 year to file a 2255 against your lawyer. You have 1 year, and it had been like 3-4 years.
Right.
So I'm done.
Right.
There's nothing I can do.
There's nothing.
What I end up doing though is at the same time I had done American Greed. I'd been interviewed by Dateline at the behest of the government. I'd been interviewed by American Greed at the behest of the government. They had told me every time that they would consider it substantial assistance, and they didn't.
Right.
They'd tell me if you do this, we'll cut your sentence, is what they're basically saying. They said,
Right.
we'll consider cutting your sentence.
Right.
Then I would do it, and they go, well, we considered it, and it's not enough.
I had one of those. Yeah.
So I had 2 of those, and then at this point, I had a guy that contacted me about writing an ethics and fraud course, because all mortgage brokers have to take 3 hours of ethics and fraud every year. And this was a guy who owned a class that taught that class. I agreed to do the class. Okay. So to help teach the class, so I write this course. It's 9,500 words.
Wow.
And I write it, and the judge actually wrote a letter to the warden asking for the warden.
Once you're in BOP custody, yeah.
Right. Let the cameras in so he could actually be on film. Judge said no, he could do an audible. Sorry, I'll do it on the phone. So anyway, this guy writes the course. My U.S. attorney says that they will consider it. If I write the course, I write the course. After I'm done, they go, that's just not enough. Mm-hmm. So now I've got done 3 things. So I do file a 2255, and we fight and fight, and eventually the judge, or eventually the government says, okay, we'll give you a sentence reduction. We'll bring you back to court. They bring me back to court. I go in front of the judge, and we plead our case. That's not my fault that the government didn't do.
Right.
We even have, listen, the FBI officer comes and testifies.
Wow.
And says, I was subpoenaed here. She goes, so I can get reimbursed. She said, but I would have come if I hadn't been.
Wow.
So she comes. The guy that I wrote the course comes. So funny too, Colby. The guy says, his name is, oh gosh, I can't remember his name. Anyway, I remember telling my lawyer before we went, right, this is a new lawyer because I'm filing a 2255.
Right.
By the way, Millie, my old lawyer, she testifies for me. And I'm filing
and you're firing her.
I'm filing a 2255 against her saying she's ineffective.
Right. Wow.
And everybody was like, you got to do something here, right?
Right.
So the guy, Jim Montrum, the guy's name was, the guy that owned the mortgage company or mortgage education course, or education school was called Jim Montrum. And I had told my lawyer that they gave me, I was like, listen, when you need to talk to these people so that they know what to say.
Right.
You know, we want them to, and so that you don't want to ask the wrong. And she's like, no, Matt, I got this. I got it. I know it. He gets on the stand. Here's what he says, or she says. He says, we have to understand the industry at that time. There was a lot of cowboys. You know, everybody was committing fraud. These guys are all making W-2s and pay stubs. They're all doing this. And so the prosecution gets on there. And so she tells him, okay, great. Prosecution stands up and says, so I had told him, like, prep him. And I told you my lawyer, prep him. She doesn't prep him. So the prosecution gets up and she goes, so you're saying that it was kind of a cowboy, Old West kind of atmosphere? Yeah, it was just, everybody's very loose and right. And she said, are you saying that all mortgage brokers were making fake people and buying property and renovating it and pulling out millions of dollars and letting the property go into foreclosure? And he goes, oh no, he was way out of line about that. Oh no. And I remember he said that, and I went, and I looked at her like, this is why you prep your witnesses. And I just looked at her, and she was like, and I was just like that. I mean, listen, and the judge looked right at me, and I'm thinking, listen, come on. Admittedly, it was wrong. Oh no. So, well, here's one of the funniest part is that when the judge sentences, right, we're asking for like 7 levels off, which is like half my sentence.
Right.
It's like 13 years off. So, and then the U.S. attorney, the government, is saying 1 level, which is 30 months.
Right.
So the judge says, well, I've looked into this and I've thought this and I've looked over the whole case and I've seen this and I listened to the witnesses. They have to say all this and I've taken it all into consideration. And he says, the government is asking for a 1-level reduction, which is 30 months off of Mr. Cox's sentence. And he says, that's not nearly enough for what Mr. Cox has done. Yes. I like where you're at, bro. I like this. That's not nearly enough for what Mr. Cox has done. And I was like, yeah. He said, Mr. Cox, he said, you're asking for 13 years, here for 7 levels off, or no, for 7 level reduction, whatever it was. He goes, that's 13 years off your sentence. He goes, that was never going to happen.
Oh, and I was like,
it felt like he threw like a bucket of cold water on me. I was like,
yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God. He goes, so I've thought about this, blah, 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 blah. 7 years. And he says, that's it. That's the court's.
So you start with 26.
26, I'm at 19. It really was 26 and 4 months. So now I'm at 19 and whatever, 4 months, 5 months. So 19 and a half.
Still roughly. A lot of time.
So I go back, and I'll go through this quick because I know you don't have like a super long podcast. It's already longer than you want. So I go back, and I'm walking the track with a real con man, a guy named Ron Wilson. Ron Wilson is really amazing. This is a guy that people are just giving
He's someone
money.
We just aspire to be.
He really is amazing. He was, a psychopath.
Yeah.
But since I'm clearly on the scale with him, and he reminded me of my dad. I really liked Ron. But
You're a
doesn't mean he doesn't have to go.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that Ron and I. It doesn't mean if it's between me and Ron,
Yeah.
I'm chopping your head off like a Viking. So we're walking the track. Ron had a $102 million Ponzi scheme where he'd stolen $57 million from pension funds and churches and retirees. Yeah. And
what was his sentence?
19 and a half years. He got 19 and a half years. And he used to always, and he was currently cooperating against his co-defendants. And so we're walking the track, and he knows I just came back from court.
Yeah. Oh.
Like he and I have openly talked about me cooperating.
Right.
No problem with it.
Yeah.
If somebody fucks up,
It's the pride, isn't it?
Somebody,
it's the pride. He had to talk to you. He had to brag.
Yeah. Somebody tells me where there's a body, I'm going home tomorrow, Ron. These guys, and he's like, I understand.
Right.
I hear you. And we're walking around one day, and he's telling me that they're never going to let him out. I'm like, what do you mean? As soon as these guys go to trial and they'll cut your sentence. You don't understand. What do you mean? He goes, they think I hid Ponzi scheme money. I'm like, well, I thought you gave all the Ponzi. He goes, I did. But that's what they think. I was like, well, them thinking that isn't enough.
Right.
They'll cut your sentence, and if not, we'll file a 2255, just like what happened with me. You don't get it. Okay. This goes on for a month or two.
Right.
And then one day he says it again. I go, why do you keep saying that? And he goes, can I trust you?
I'm so sad.
And I looked at him and I went, probably not. And he goes, I did put some money away.
Oh,
I said, really? I said, well, in gold? Because he had gold and silver. And, that was what he was big on, right? Like that was what he was trading for people. You're giving me $500,000 to trade silver for you, right? But really, he's just buying shit and telling you we're doing great. So I'm like, of what? I mean, what? You still have silver or something? And he's like, no. My wife has I gave her $150,000 in cash, and then my brother's got $20,000-$30,000 for me, and it's not a lot of money. He's like, but And I was like, okay, well, that's nothing.
Right.
He says nothing. I said, not just that. They've already talked to these people and asked them if they've said they're not going to come forward now.
Right.
He's no, you don't understand. My wife had he'd been in trouble, found out he was having an affair, and she said my wife she's bipolar. She'll burn the whole house around both of us. She didn't care. He goes, and just to me over, she'll turn it into the 150, just to make sure that I do all the time because they're in the middle of a divorce while he's locked up. So he. And I'm like, oh, well, So anyway, I remember walking back and laying in bed and that night. This really, the immediate thought when he said it was, is that enough to get me a sentence reduction? Like if I tell on this guy, will they cut my sentence? Which isn't the gangster thing to say, I know. I understand you and Sean, and most people, I would never.
Oh, no, I tried. I'm not saying I wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
I was gonna say
no. I mean, I'm not saying I absolutely don't have that mentality. I did do an undercover deal. Yeah.
Sean doesn't know that. You held that back. You were like,
yeah.
Oh, I lean into Sean. When I talked to him, I was like, oh, absolutely. Yeah. And he was like,
yeah.
You could tell.
No. When he said that to me, he's like, yeah, no, I did an undercover deal. I have no problem with that. I'm just saying, yeah, it's not the gangster thing to say, but I mean, most everyone in there is going to turn on anyone like that.
It's 97% of these guys. And that doesn't mean that
there's no honor among thieves.
That doesn't mean that 98% didn't try. 98% tried. Only 97% get cooperation. A lot of times you do something, they're like, that's not enough.
I tried to turn on WAMU and turn on this and turn on that. They just weren't interested.
Yeah,
they're not interested. People. Yeah, they're not going for the big boys.
So what ends up happening is, so he tells me this, and it's funny too, because I always think to myself, I should have called my lawyer immediately, but I remember thinking they didn't want to give you what they gave you. You're never getting anything for this.
And they didn't give me anything for my cooperation deal. So, I mean, you can get screwed on those.
Oh, yeah. It's totally up to them.
Right.
And they'll fuck you over left and right because people are so desperate. Even if they have a bad name, people will still try.
Right.
So they're not worried about, aren't they worried that people won't trust them? They don't give a f. They know you'll still try.
Right.
So I don't say anything. Probably a month or so goes by, and I actually called my lawyer because she was supposed to send me my sentencing transcripts because I had written a memoir. And so I get her on the phone. I'm like, hey, I never got the sentencing transcripts. She's like, oh gosh, Matt, I'm so sorry. I was waiting for them to make them available. They are. I'm sure they're available now. I'll get them to you. I'm so sorry. And then she said, so what's going on in there? Everything okay? And I was like, yeah, everything's fine. And she goes, and she went, anything you want to talk about? Anything happening? And I was thinking, like, this woman didn't want to talk to me when she was representing me.
Right.
And I was like, no, not. Oh, I said, well, listen to this. I'm on the prison phone, right? I'm like, listen to this. Fucking guy just told me this. She goes, what's his name? And Ron Wilson. She goes, oh, wow. Oh, this guy's all over the place. This is, at that time, was the largest Ponzi scheme in South Carolina history.
Wow.
And she was like, oh, wow. She said, let me look into this. I said, okay. So I hang up the phone. I'm so unconcerned about it. A week later, when the cop calls me and says, hey, go to SIS, the office, I'm like, I'm thinking, I used to order people's Freedom of Information Act because I was writing stories, right? I'm writing these true crime stories. And they would catch it in mailroom, and SIS would be like, why are you ordering this? And they knew why. They're like, are you writing a story on it? I'm like, yeah. Does he know you're getting this? Yeah, of course. They're not allowed to give you this stuff. They would give it to me because I'd already been in I'd already written an article and got some guys in Rolling Stone magazine. I'd optioned some guys' film rights. I'd already had a book or 2 books at this point. Like everybody knows me. They're like,
right.
So they're like, they just give it to me. So I go there, I'm waiting. The cop goes, here, come here. And I go, what? And he goes, come in the room. And I was like, the fuck's going on? Sit down. He dials the number. What's going on? He's just, some of them, they're just dickheads, Right. Here, talk to this guy. I'm like, hello. And the guy's like, hey, this is Agent, I forget his name, but whatever, Griffin. Griffin? Yeah, Agent Griffin with the Secret Service. I understand where Ron Wilson hid some Ponzi scheme money. I go, oh, no. I want something in writing. I want this. I end up getting we get our email. We start emailing each other. I tell him what happened. Well, he gets me a letter. I tell him what happened. The letter's like, we'll consider it substantial assistance, which is all you're going to get, which means nothing. But I tell him what happened. We trade emails. He asked me to find out this from Wilson and find out that. So I'm kind of working undercover, asking. Some of the stuff they ask you to do is like, how the fuck am I going to ask him? Hey, who's Tom Johnson?
Right.
I'm like, he's never mentioned Tom Johnson. Give me some. Well, we can't give you too much information. Well, I'm not going to go ask him who Tom Johnson is since he's never. Are you trying to get me stabbed? Right. Or thrown in the shoe and moved. My mother is coming. She lives 45 minutes from here.
Right.
Like, you're going to get me shipped across the country.
Right.
So anyway, so this goes on for 3 or 4, maybe 6 months. And then one day they say, hey, Wilson's about to get some bad news. And then one day Wilson comes and he calls. He's like, Cox. This is a couple days later. He's like, Cox. I'm like, what's up? He goes, I've been reindicted. And I'm like, what? Yeah. He said, they called my wife in. He said, they called my wife in to talk to her. She came in, and they asked her if she had any money. She denied it. I was like, okay. I was like, oh, okay. How he didn't put this together.
Wow.
And he's like, yeah. He's like, well, then they called my brother. They actually called like 6 people in. So it was just one of 6. She comes in, denies it. The brother comes in the next day, walks in, hands him $150,000. The wife comes in right after that, walks in, hands him $350,000 plus gold and a bunch of other shit. So it's like $500,000. And I go, $500,000? I go, I thought you said it was like $150,000. Yeah. He goes, I didn't know if I could trust you. Oh, no. Ron, how can you? We're kindred spirit. We're con men, Ron. We're better than that. So, guy.
No.
So stop. I know I should feel bad when I tell this story, but the joy I get in my heart of how comical looking back on this was.
Right. Oh no.
So this is what's really funny to me, and you don't, unless you've been through this, you don't really understand how dark what I'm about to say is, how devious and dark it is. There are 3 types of cooperation. There's where you tell the cops, hey, that you get arrested and you're like, oh, I got information for you, but my next door neighbor, he's making ice. He's got an ice lab in the house. And they go, okay. And then they go bust him a week later. They knock on the house. They go in, they get him. Okay. You gave them some information that led to something. Great. Right. You might get 15, 20% off your sentence for that.
Right.
Then there is, hey, they say, okay, here, we're going to give you a wire. You go buy something from him. Talk about the ice lab. Okay.
Right. I did that one.
So you get some information, you bring it back. You might get 30% off for that, maybe 40.
Right.
Now your neighbor gets busted. He goes to trial. Because keep in mind, when he gets busted the first time, he may just plead guilty.
Right.
He gets busted the second time, he might plead guilty. Third time, he goes to trial, you have to testify.
Right.
For testifying, you may get 40 to 50% off your sentence.
So you're not telling him to go to trial.
So when he says to me, what do you think I should do? And I go, I think you should go to trial.
Oh, no.
Because I know they have to call me as a witness.
You're sick.
I know. I'm the linchpin to this whole thing. They had no clue about any of it. Like, there's no way they can say, oh, we had that information anyway. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
I gave you everything you needed.
And you're going to look right at Ron from the stand. You're going to say, Ron, I'm sorry. Had to be one of us.
I would walk in and be like, Ron, hey, buddy. I'd sit down and say, let's do this. Woo! Right there with the beard, the man with the gorgeous, by the way, gorgeous head of white hair, thickest head of best head of white hair I've ever seen. We're talking about Poseidon, thick. I don't know where his genes come from, but they're amazing. They're amazing.
So Ron's doing life in prison. And
No. Listen, this is what's even funnier, is that so they end up. He gets shipped. Obviously, he gets shipped. Comes back. I'm sorry. He gets shipped. Never comes back.
Right.
So he gets shipped back to South Carolina so they can go through the indictment process.
He pleads.
He pleads guilty. Couldn't have manned up and gone to. I had to do another year. Once they cut my sentence, at that point, they cut my sentence by 5 years for that.
So now you're thinking, I got to find me some more people.
No. By this point, I've done like 9. I've done 11, 10, about 11 years. Like I'm almost out.
Okay, so you're not going for any more.
I can't. I don't have time. If I thought I had time, I'd have been walking around.
So it was just Ron? Didn't Ron get out recently?
Ron gets out on COVID. He doesn't even. So you know how much time? So his wife and brother get 1 year. Mm-hmm. They had to do some community service too, like 50 hours, 100 hours. They don't. They get 1 year. Sorry, they get 1 year probation. They don't do any jail time. They just get probation.
Okay.
So for lying to a federal agent.
Right.
He gets charged with obstruction of justice. He gets 6 months. That's it. He gets 6 months. And I remember when he got 6 months, I was like, I'm done. Like, they're not going to give me anything for this.
Right.
But
they got the money. They got the
money, but they don't give me anything. They don't give me anything. I have to file another 2255. I have to go back in front of my judge. No, I don't. I'm sorry. I have to file with my judge.
Right.
But here's the problem. It's been over a year. And it's been years since I was originally sentenced. Right. So once again, the government comes back and they say, Your Honor, you have no jurisdiction. It's been over a year. The judge comes back and says, I believe I don't have any jurisdiction on this. And when that came, I remember thinking, so he denies it, my 2255. And I'm thinking, like I'm crushed.
Yeah, that would be.
But here's what he says. And I don't know how much you know about the law. But he says, however, he said, I'm sure Mr. Cox is going to appeal this. Why would you say that?
Right.
Obviously. You know what I'm saying? Like, people have to. You have to read between the lines.
Right. He gave you that.
Technically, he knows by law he doesn't have jurisdiction over this case because it's not within the 1 year.
Right.
It's over 1 year. He doesn't have jurisdiction. But here's what he's saying to the appellate court. Listen to the whole thing that he says. I'm sure Mr. Cox is going to appeal this. Mm-hmm. I believe that it's something the appellate court should listen to. Right. I'm waiving a certificate of appealability.
Wow.
Which is like the
gold standard,
right? It's like the door that they put so that you don't. So everybody goes, "Oh, I can appeal." No, they have a way to stop you from appealing. Right. You have to prove that you have a case worth appealing. Right. Which goes to a second judge that he doesn't have control over. So instead of making me do that, he says, "I'm waiving it."
Right. So he give you the fast track.
And they make you pay $500 to do it, and I'm waiving the $500. So what he's telling the appellate court is, one, I don't have the jurisdiction to give this guy anything.
Right.
But I think I should.
Right.
And I'm going to send this to you as quickly as possible.
So that you can fix this problem.
You can fix this problem.
Right.
Because I can't.
Right.
Well, as soon as he puts that motion in, government sends a Rule 35 in. Because they're trying to shut that down completely. Right. And so what happens is, we end up negotiating. We immediately send something to the judge saying, do not rule on the Rule 35. Because we have the right to show all kinds of evidence to prove what we've done here. Right. Anyway, what happens is he doesn't rule on it. He gives me a lawyer. We start negotiating through my new lawyer. and I eventually get them to give me 3 levels off, which is 5 years.
Right.
At this point, that's 5 years, because every level you get off of your sentence, it reduces the next levels. Every level is incrementally higher. So as I reduce lower, everyone. So the first 3 years was 7 years. The second 3 years was 5.
Right.
So I end up getting 12 years off my sentence. By that point, I've got like 18 months, 2 years left. Well, probably about 18 months left in my sentence.
Right.
I don't have time to cut anybody else's throat.
Right.
So what ends up happening is I basically go to a halfway. I about a year later, I go to a halfway house. I get 7 months for a halfway house, and I go to the halfway house, and
Was it
and I get out.
scary
But what?
to come out?
Oh yeah, I was terrified to come out. Terrified, and for like a year or so, I used to around 3:45 feel sick to my stomach because I thought I had to be standing like next to my bed. You know, around count, you start feeling sick. That's that one count. You kind of that and 10 o'clock, you have to be standing up in your cell as the guards walk by to count you, and you have to be quiet. And so it's kind of aggravating. So I felt sick. I also felt sick for a year. Every time someone would knock on the door, my first thought was, for just a split second, was they realized that they shouldn't have let me out. Like, so there was a mistake. I'm not supposed to be out here. Because after 13 years, I felt much more comfortable in prison than I did out here.
Right.
And so that went on for about a year. My first reaction was, and if I had walked out, opened the door, and there were 2 marshals standing there saying,
"You wouldn't have been
Matthew
surprised.
Cox," I would have been like, "Man, I knew it." I wouldn't have even asked any real questions. I'd have been like, they said, "Turn around, you got a cup up." "Yeah, I got it." Like, I'd be like, they'll tell me eventually what's wrong. Because you get when you're in prison, you don't get answers right away. You realize, just do what they say. They'll let you know what's going on.
Right.
I've been thrown in the shoe multiple times. Didn't do anything wrong. Didn't think I'd done anything.
They can just do it on investigation.
Yeah. And you don't even find out. 10 days go by before they call you out and say, "Well, here's the reason we locked you up." You're like, "What?"
Right.
I didn't have anything to do with that.
Right.
So
it's like the world is backwards when you go in there. Everything is, they have all the power. And were you scared that you'd never have a job again?
yeah, when I was, the whole time I was there, I was writing stories, right? I wrote my book. I wrote another book. For a guy named Ephraim Deveroli. There's the movie War Dogs, which Ephraim Deveroli is played by Jonah Hill. Well, the real Ephraim Deveroli was locked up with me. I wrote his memoir. I wrote another book called Generation Oxy, and I'm getting book deals.
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting advances. I'm getting paid for this by not the guys, but by a publisher.
Right.
And so I got these guys in Rolling Stone magazine, and I start writing multiple books. I'm also writing synopses of guys' stories. So, but as I'm getting out, before I was getting out, maybe a couple years really before I was getting out, guys were like, "When you get out, you should do a true crime podcast." And of course, I don't even know what that is. There were no podcasts when I was locked up. It wasn't even a thing.
Right.
The word podcast wasn't invented until 2009.
Wow.
You know, YouTube had been out 1 year. I'd never been on it.
Right.
I don't know what iTunes, I don't know what any of that is.
Right.
But these guys are explaining it to me. They're bringing me magazines like, "Look, out of the top 20 podcasts, 12 of the top 12 of them are true crime." And I'm like, "Okay, now what is it again?" And they're explaining.
Did you have a vision at all? Like, as you heard about it, did you say?
By the time I got to the halfway house, I started having a vision, which was undoable. It was a heavily produced podcast where you have music and you're interviewing other people, and it's almost like a documentary, but it was all audio. So it wasn't until I was in the halfway house for a while, and a friend of mine put me in contact with a guy named Danny Jones.
I know. I want to meet him someday. Hard to meet.
Huh?
He's hard to meet.
No, he's in Sarasota. He's in St. Pete. So so I go there. I do his podcast. He asked me to do his. He was just answering questions for me. I'm like, "How does this work?"
Right.
And I do his podcast.
I think I saw that. That's a pretty good one. It was a couple hours, wasn't it?
It was like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it got like 2.3 million views, something like that. I think that's what it's up to now. It got like 2 million within 4 months.
Wow.
Like, it blew up.
Right.
And so I do his, and he tells me, "You should start a podcast." Like, "Oh, I know, I'm trying." And I tell him the whole thing. And he's like, "Yeah, bro." He's like, "That's a big deal. Like, that's probably not going to happen." Like, the truth is, you're a guy, at this point, I was living in a rooming house. You're an ex-felon living in a rooming house. Like, that requires someone to dump $200,000 or $300,000 into you.
Right. Probably not going to happen.
Yeah. And so he said, "You should just do what I'm doing." And I'm thinking, I don't have a camera. He's like, "Oh, you got an iPhone." I'm like, I'm not doing that. It's crazy. So, and what I did was, and I always say this, is that Danny Jones gave me the best piece of advice that I completely ignored, which was to start with your iPhone camera and put up a video and just do a really crappy job, but start putting stuff up and just get better.
Yeah.
And he said exactly that. He said, look, in a year from now, when you have the right equipment and you have the right mic and the right equipment and you're putting out quality stuff with good thumbnails, he goes, people will be able to look back and say, I remember when you were making videos in your kitchen with your iPhone. And I was like, I was so offended that I'm better than that. So the guy who's making a living doing what I want to do is giving me advice to the guy who's barely paying his bills, living in a rooming house, who just got out of prison. And I'm telling him he doesn't know. Can you imagine how arrogant I was?
Right.
Anyway, 6 months later, I decide to start doing it. I start making videos, and that goes on for about 4 to 6 months. And then I meet Colby.
Right.
And then Colby takes this whole thing and
make next level to it.
Shoots a bunch of testosterone into it and then tweaks it over the next few years. And then that's where we are now, where we're basically, by the time unless you put this out tonight, by the time this comes out, we'll have over 1 million subscribers. We're like 1,500 away right now, 1,500 subscribers, and we get between 700 to 1,000 a day. So,
wow.
Yeah. There was a point about 3 months ago, we were getting a little over 1,000 subscribers a day. Yeah, 1,500 a day. It was blowing up. But there's ebbs and flows.
Right. Are you a good guy?
No, I don't know.
Yes, I would say yes. Matt doesn't like to say so.
It's 2 hours in. Yeah. Whoa.
Don't you have any? You don't have any of these? We got some 3-4 hour videos, bro. I'm a talker.
It's a log. We're gonna split it in half. No, I'm
a talker.
Yeah, you are. You have a really good story. I think you're a good guy.
Yeah, sometimes I have my moments.
I think it takes a lot of strength and courage to be as honest as you are, and I think that it's a superpower to just own it. Yeah. I mean, you're obviously a great podcaster, a good interviewer, and have such an interesting story and tell it really well. I've watched some of your videos, my husband too, and we're both like, he can make any story sound really good. Like, it's a lot you know what I mean? Funny. Yeah. You can take a guest and you do a really good job with them. But I think you're a good guy. Like, it's really hard to come back from all of that and keep going and stay. I mean, I know at this point from the conversations that I've had with you, you're pretty careful in terms of making decisions. You're not.
Now I'm extremely careful. Extremely careful. I can never be in front of a judge again. I don't want to go back to prison. I don't want to make those mistakes.
Yeah, and I get that. Does it feel better just doing it right, or not necessarily? Is there strength in that? Like there is for me.
I mean,
I don't know.
There is, but I would be lying if I said I did not think about fraud every once in a while.
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah.
You're like, I still dream about it. No.
Yeah, I daydream about it. I think about it sometimes. When I'm bored or see something, I think, or when it's even worse, when someone's telling me a story and I think, if he just, you could have been, that would, oh man.
You could have been big.
You could have, like, you had all that. Why didn't you get this? Why didn't, I'm thinking that in my head. I'm thinking, that's not right. Yeah. Like there's something not right there. But things are good, And I feel like it's funny because I was so concerned about how was I going to make a living when I got out, right?
Yeah.
Like, how am I going to make a living? Like, I'd never expected to make a great living, but some kind of living, right? Like,
right.
And I remember, and I thought to myself, at some point, maybe I'd be able to get, like, not right away. I figured I'd have to wait till I got off probation, and I'd be able to get back in real estate, And I thought I might do that, or painting. I paint, and I made a living painting for about 2.5 years after I got off. I just did the podcast and I painted. That's what and then the other thing I was doing, and I still do this, is keynote speeches, right, for banks and financial institutions and cybersecurity companies. So I think that any one of those I could have probably made a decent living at. Mm-hmm. But the one that, it started paying off, probably paying off fairly quickly, and I really enjoy doing. Not that I don't enjoy doing the other ones. Yeah, is obviously the podcast. Yeah, I like painting. My problem is I want to paint what I want to paint. Yeah, and people want you to paint what they want to paint. Right. If they're paying. Right. I don't like that. I want to paint what I want to paint. I don't want to paint your dog. Your dog's adorable, but I don't want to paint your dog. Right. So, So. And then the keynote speeches, that's good money, and I like that. I never super put my heart into it. I think if I did, I could have make a living on it. There's plenty of ways to make a living, I think, but I think this really works for me.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it, and I love talking to people.
Yeah.
I love talking to. That's not true. I don't really like talking to people. I really like talking to people that have like the guys that have the crime stories and stuff. I'm really fascinated by what happened. How did that happen? What happened in your childhood?
Yeah.
What happened to make you make those choices? How did you, what were the things that you got around, and then how did it all kind of collapse?
Right.
And then I'm interested in like, what are you doing now? Like now you went to prison, you got out. What are you doing now?
Right.
So
Well,
how
that's why
do you
we're
bounce
talking.
back from that? Because
Right.
not everybody does.
No.
I think a lot of people don't.
Right.
But I also think success is vastly different for everybody.
Right.
Some people's success is, you're making, $500,000 a year. And some people's success is you own a drywall company.
Right. Well, and for me, and I don't know, like my marriage and my family, those things are important to me. I know you're married and you're happily married, and so that's a pretty big success. It's not everyone can do that.
She's all right. She's lucky. She's lucky she met me. Lucky. I remind her. I know she is because I remind her all the time. I know
She sounds like a pretty great lady. Well, thank you for giving me so much of your time. And
Yeah.
appreciate you, Colby, recording it, and we'll put it out, and people are going to go, whoa, because my listeners.
And this is the short version. This is short version.
I know. Well, follow him, guys. Matt Cox. Really cool stories on true crime, and you'll find him everywhere. Thanks, Matt. Okay, we're out.
Is that it?